I've really been sitting with the daily reoccurring visitations from spiders. And considering where in my life information that I've received inward, where I may have copied it within myself incorrectly, thus creating a corrupted file. Where am I not actually hooked up into the web of life? Am I, there's so many themes of Saturn going on, even though, throw out the even though phrase. But there's just so many themes of Saturn going on because of Pluto and Jupiter. And Saturn itself is switching from Capricorn to Aquarius, right? And so we have the masculine and the feminine expressions of Saturn. And then we have going into the Aquarian age as a whole. And so this whole moving out of Jupiter into Jupiter energy, which is Pisces, and into Saturn. And so this discipline that the spider has, most spiders have them, is that they will build their web and eat it every day. At the beginning of the day, they wake up and they build their web. And regardless as to whether or not they catch anything, they eat it at the end of the day. That's such a Saturnian discipline. Man. Such Saturnian discipline. I would say on a farm that would be eating the food and then making sure there's no waste. That's doing the compost and doing that and returning it back to the soil. So I just heard a story about how there's a rabbit virus going on in California, and there's no cross transportation of rabbits in and out of California. And I just was kind of reminded of this fact that we have this virus issue going on around the world. And we might be misreading things in a way because we're so distracted by what we have going on with us, which I will say first, it's important that we keep an eye on ourselves. Because, as I like to say, what they say on an airplane is if the air masks deploy, be sure to apply an air mask to your face first before assisting others. So, absolutely, we need to get the mask on our own faces first, so to speak. We need to do what's appropriate for our individual self. To the best of our ability, while keeping in mind that we're all in it together. There's a rooster over there, if you hadn't noticed. So we might not be the only ones experiencing viruses here, something that's really been on my mind is increased disease in dogs. And gosh, there are so many diseases that we consider to be of an unknown cause. And it isn't so much that we don't have a name for whatever is going on with our dogs or animals, but we have a name for it. The animal has this problem, but we don't necessarily know why they have the problem. Like, oh, the dog has seizures. Why does the dog have seizures? Well, they have seizures because there's these, we think they're like hiccups at the brain, and we think it might be genetic. And okay, so hang on a second. The genetic thing is a theory. We really don't know the whole genetic thing, so that's a theory. And I will say it's a reasonable theory to a degree when you're dealing with purebred animals, because think, for example, about the bulldog, how they have to circumcise the animal out in order for it to be born, and they have all these face issues, breathing, respiratory. They have respiratory issues because of the shape, so they're not getting enough air. They can't swim. So there are definitely certain things, genetic, that can become a problem, but not all things. Maybe not all issues that a person experiences, maybe it's not all genetic. Maybe some of it can be inherited in other ways, because we all spend time in our mother's womb. We all spend time in our mother's womb. Whatever is in our mother gets passed down to us. And same thing for our pets. And even for these chickens. Like, whatever the female is being fed is what's going to build the egg. And then why can't certain built up things in our environment, like pesticides, household cleaners, laundry detergent, air fresheners, scented candles, you name it, gasoline fumes, etc., etc. Why can't those things get built up in our body? These are all brand new to our body. Our body doesn't really know how to process these things, and they may not appear to be harmful because we're not receiving them in any one large dose, but yeah, over time, it's like, all right, you can drown in a swimming pool, but you're not going to drown with one drip from a faucet. But if you're tied down under that drip because you're ignorant of the drip, now you're into Chinese water torture. Now you're in a whole new realm of why do we have all these diseases or disabilities. I don't know if you want to call my example of seizure probably considered a disease, but it's not considered curable. We don't know why, and a lot of times we think it's genetic, and it may or may not be. I thought that chicken was about to lay an egg. It was doing something weird over there. But anyway, getting back to this virus thing, like, what if you could have a low-grade virus and doctors, for whatever reason, can't seem to test that what you have is a virus? And now I'm going to go a little further and say Anthony William, the medical medium, has been talking about how viruses are in the top 4. It's called he calls them the unholy 4. You have viruses. I think he goes by pathogens as in general, but he does specifically point out viruses, but bacteria is a problem on there too. He points specifically to strep as one of the biggest problems, but there are some other bacterias out there that are problematic. Viruses, heavy metals, radiation, and something like pesticides. And the problem with the viruses is that the more that you have of the other three, the more likely you have number one coming in, because that environment of metals, pesticides, and radiation, that environment encourages nasty things to come in and learn how to decompose it, and that turns out to be really harmful viruses and bacteria that cause strange diseases that we can't even seem to identify. And maybe what the year 2020 represents is, in 2020 vision, is the realization that what humanity is suffering from is a virus. Which it just occurred to me, in that movie, The Matrix, Agent Smith accuses humanity of being like a virus. And maybe it's because we've been suffering from one to the point where our subconscious is screaming out virus, and we're just misreading. Maybe we're just misreading the message. Anyway, maybe humanity has a virus. Or we have multiple families and hosts of viruses. And so considering this, considering how we haven't had more deaths of the current viral pandemic with the resulting lockdown, consider that annually we still have more people dying of cancer and heart disease, kidney failure, liver failure, thyroid disease, neurological disease. We have all these people dying of these other weird symptoms that we can't explain. Maybe this is our glimpse at the truth. Then the truth is, our biggest problem is viruses. And we need to address why the viruses seem to be so happily fed in our bodies to take us down so easily. Why is it that we can have these symptoms? Why is it that we don't really know what's causing them? Why is it always autoimmune? What is causing our body to attack itself? Is it a virus? Because I don't think it's genetic. That doesn't make any sense to me. We're not inbreeding ourselves like we are with dogs. And maybe it's a virus because we've gotten so mixed up that so many people out there eat plastic instead of food. Or food covered in plastic, oil products, chemicals, legal spin-offs of DDT. Anyway, I think I've gotten off topic a little bit at the end there, but I just wanted to point out that there's a lot of viral stuff going on out there already, and I'm really appreciative of the fact that this is really getting blown up, because people need to realize how sick the world is. And it has to do with not cleaning up our room. And when I say our, I mean the human family. And I say room, I mean the world itself. And that also means you need to start with yourself, your body. Clean up your body. We can be Mother Earth's front line of cleaners. We find the right tools that Mother Earth knows how to provide, and we can beat these viruses that we helped to encourage the growth of. And that's through our, we got really zealous with our inventing. I mean, that's cool. Inventing's cool. Profit margins are cool. But let's get down to real sustainability. We didn't need a lot of this stuff. And now that we have all this other great technology, let's get Saturnian on what we really need to be using in the world to harbor true sustainability. That's Aquarius. We need to work together. That's Aquarius. All right. Have a wonderful day.